Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My full name is Marnisa Widiana Solidia Borain. You can call me Nisa. I will bring an article with the title should be recognized as a victim of sexual violence. The season of Lent is an invitation to the churches and to anyone else who wishes to do so to reflect on the disturbing story of the torture and crucifixion of the Jesus of Nazareth as described in the New Testament. It is one of the most widely known and often retold stories in human history. Yet, despite being read and remembered so often, there is a part of the story which typical recounts little attention and minimal discussion: the stripping of Jesus. The hashtag #MeToo movement is highlight the prevalence of sexual assault, sexual harassment, and other sexual abuse, expressed by women and girls in many different forms. It has also exposed the common tendency to deny, dismiss, or minimize the significance and impact of this expression. The stripping of Jesus we examined during this present latent period in seems especially appropriate to recall the stripping of Jesus and to name it for what it was intended to be, a powerful display of humiliation and gender-based violence which should be acknowledged as a acts of sexual violence and abuse. The idea that Jesus himself experienced sexual abuse might seem staggering or shocking at first, but crucifixion was a supreme punishment, and the stripping and expose of victims was not an accidental or incidental element. It was a deliberate action that the Romans used to humiliate and degrade those they wished that to punish. It meant that the crucifixion was more than just physical, it was also a devastation, emotional, and psychological punishment. Confession in Christian art of the conferring Christ, Nicodemus on the cross with a long list in first, perhaps an understandable response to the incidents in the gate of Romans crucifixion, but this should not prevent us from recognizing that the historical reality would have been very different. This is not just a matter of the searching the historical records. If Jesus is named as a victim of sexual abuse, it could make a huge difference to how the churches engage with movements like #MeToo and how the promise taken in wider social. This should contribute significantly to positive things, and many churches and expression in society where the majority of people identify as Christian. Some strippings might respond that stripping as prisoner might be a form of violence or abuse, but is misleading to call this sexual violence or sexual abuse. Yet, if the purpose was to humiliate the captive and expose him to more care by others, and if the strippings is done against his this will and as a way to shame him in public, the recognizing it as a form of sexual violence, of sexual abuse seems interest just feel the why the stripping of Vertigated king of the Avern is the depicting in the first episode of the first series of the Hebrew series room is a explain of this. Combating stigma, the station of the course in Estacio de Fatima, Jul, Portugal, Wikimedia Commons. Jesus' gender is central. The readers seeming willingness to recognize the sexual abuse to which he is in subject analysis of the gendering of nakedness by Margaret Mills demonstrate the we have male and female nakedness differently in biblical art in the Christian ways. Miles argues that the dead naked male body responded glorious altexen resposting spiritual as well as physical suffering. Sexual abuse doesn't form part of the narrative of masculine in the heart in representation of Jesus. Naked women, however, are immediately identified as sexual objects. Seeing a woman being forcibly stripped then might be more recognizable as sexual abuse than the stripping of Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew and Mark. If Christ was a female figure, we would instead to recognize her ordeals as sexual abuse. Some parents, the Christian, are still reluctant to accept that Jesus was a victim of sexual violence and seem to consider sexual abuse as an exclusive final expression. We might not want to dwell on the describing in the night of crucifixion for the whole year, but it's not wrong to forget about in complete Esther. The sexual abuse of Jesus is a missing part of Passion and Esther's story. Retelling it's appropriate to recognize Jesus as a victim of sexual violence, to address the continuing stigma for those who experience sexual abuse, experiment. Let offers and buried and with this start the reality of crucifixion may be recalled and connected to the important request the movements like #MeToo are raising for the churches and for winners succeed. Once we acknowledge the sexual abuse of Jesus, perhaps we'll be more willing to acknowledge sexual abuse in our own context. So, the conclusion of this article is because Lent is added to commemorate the death of Jesus, where Jesus died by the being crucified by the Romans. During the crucifixion process, one of the punishments this was carried out was sexual abuse. Actually, it was an act that was deliberately done by the Romans to humiliate Jesus, who has punished to torture was carried out on the cross. So from me, apologize if there are mistakes in pronunciation. Thanks and shalom.